SEO split testing gives you the most definitive answer as to whether the changes you've made to a group of pages have improved their organic position and, most importantly, got more clicks from Google. With standard SEO tests, we typically take an individual page or query and compare two different time periods. Before the change was made, which is the control period, and after the change was made. This does leave an SEO test open to results being impacted by an algorithm update and seasonal variances, which you can mitigate against if you check a test results against an overall site performance. With SEO split testing, we take a bunch of similar pages and split them into two groups: the control group, which we leave the same, and the test group, which we make our change to. We then compare the two groups over the same time period to see whether the test group starts to get more clicks. We can then check average position, click-through rate, and the other standard indicators for each group as well. Some good examples of using split testing. Perhaps you've got an e-commerce website, so you've got lots of product pages and category pages. So you could split or take 20 products, for example, and split them into two groups. 10 product pages you'll leave exactly the same, and 10 product pages you'll change. And the kind of things you could test on the pages that you're going to change. You can test page title and meta descriptions to see if that improves click-through rate, the content on the page, the format of the page, tabbed content, whether that should be used or not, or whether it should all be visible by default. Quite a lot of things you can change. And because e-commerce pages basically use templates across product pages and category pages and so on, they're quite good for running split tests against, because you've got lots of pages of the same type. Another good example is blog content. So, for example, if you want to test a new tool such as clearscope.io or Surfer SEO, you could take 10 blog posts and leave them alone, and take 10 and rewrite them using either ClearScope or Surfer SEO. So then, once the split test is run, you can see whether the ones that you've rewritten, whether they have improved their position and got more clicks from Google and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and just create a test quickly to show you how we do that. So within split tests, we come in and create a new split test. We'll give it a name. So for example, we'll put rewrite content. And within the description, we want to give as much information as we can, as when we come back and test or look at the test later on, we want to be able to remember exactly what it was we were testing when we look at the results in 6 weeks' time. So for just being quick now, I'll put something short in here, but again, the more details you add, the better. So the date the change was made, so we're going to assume that's today. So all of our changes were submitted today. The control URLs, so we're going to grab the URLs. These control URLs are the ones that we haven't made any changes to. And then these URLs, our test URLs, these are the ones that we rewrote using Surfer SEO. The test period, I always try and leave it to 6 weeks. We can also leave it ongoing as well. So if we want to leave this as an ongoing test that we're going to track over a much longer period of months, we can do that too. And I'll show you what the results for that look like shortly. And we could also add the country code if we want to filter the data to be country specific. So we click create. And SEO testing is now going to go off and gather as much data as it can from a small period or period before our change was made today. And we'll see what the results look like. So we'll come back into a split test and we'll look at one that we previously created and ran. You can see this first graph that appears at the top. This is a standard split test graph. So each day we average out the clicks from both groups. So we average out the clicks from the pages within the control group and the pages within the test group. And then we plot the difference. So we do the test group minus the control group every day. All the days leading up to the date that the test started. So what we do is we then average out all these points, and this creates a baseline, which is the blue line. And we do that so that we've basically got a zero number to start with. So it's unlikely that all the URLs that we put into the control group and the test group get exactly the same number of clicks each day. So by doing this and creating an average baseline, pre-test baseline, it gives us like a 0 number to be able to work from. Once the test starts, which is after the red line, we continue to do this daily difference and we create a new test period average, which is the black line. So the black line is the average of all the differences since the test started. We can then compare the pre-test baseline against the test average, and all being well in terms of what we've done, in terms of some good SEO, the black line will appear higher than the pre-test baseline. If things haven't gone quite so well, then the black line will appear below the blue test baseline, pre-test baseline, and then we could say, well, that test hasn't worked. Perhaps we'd want to roll those changes back, or at least definitely not roll them out to other pages. As well as this standard SEO split test graph, we also then plot the average positions for the two groups, so we can see how they compare. The average click-through rate, clicks per day, impressions per day, total again of each group. And then we also plot as well the unique queries per group as well. As pages, if we rework content, for example, we'd hope that those pages would start to rank for more queries. So if it was a content rewrite type test, we'd hope to see that graph go up. We can then also see the control URLs and the test URLs below, and we can actually click on those URLs so we can actually see how each URL has done on an individual basis. And so this is almost like running an SEO test individually as well for each URL, so we can come in and make sure that it's not just been one URL within a test that's done amazingly well, it is replicated over all those URLs within the test group, for example. Thanks very much for watching.